All right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are you?
Great.
How's it going?
Good.
Feeling good, feeling great. Love to hear it. Casey, how are you feeling?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for this conversation.
Yes, me too, me too.
Yes, so we're going to talk about creativity. We're going to talk about your publishing journey, self-publishing, all of that good stuff. And then we'll have some time at the end for Q&A. And so let's just hop right in.
Okay.
You ready? Okay. Let's start with your journey. So, what sparked your passion for writing and storytelling, and what got all of this started?
I am not a traditional, I'm going to grow up and be an author. So honestly, my writing journey started in my 40s. We lived in a small town that was predominantly white, and we have this beautiful black daughter, and she needed to understand what the high school experience looked like for her, and I wrote it for her. I wrote books about freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year, and she just devoured them. And that was my first time writing a full-length novel. And I said, oh, okay, well, what else can I do? And so I wrote a book and turned it into a publisher and decided I'm going to be an author. And I quit my job. And that's kind of where my journey started. And it was not one that I thought, oh, this is what I want to do, this is what life is going to look like. But when it happened, you know how something just opens up in the world for you and within you, and you're like, this is where I'm supposed to be. So that is my writing journey. That's how it began.
I love that. And getting started in your 40s, I think a lot of us can probably relate to, maybe if we're the people in the audience in their 20s and 30s who think like, I'm behind, or I haven't started this, or I have this dream that I haven't realized. Best-selling author, written dozens of books, starting in her 40s. So this is a testament. Like, can we clap, snap? That's beautiful.
And I will say that there is no time limit on finding your thing and landing where you need to land, and we shift and we pivot and we change, and it happens when it happens.
Right.
And I know people say that in such a cliche way, but it literally happens when it's supposed to happen. And I'm so grateful that I was open to trying at that time in my life.
Yes, beautiful. So you've carved out a distinct space in urban fiction. What do you think it was about your voice or stories that helped you break through and gain a loyal following when you did get started?
For me, I would say that my characters are real, and I have this conversation a lot. The characters that I write about, so first and foremost, emotions are universal.
Right.
And if you can make people feel something, then they're tapped in and they're connected. And so for me, the thing that helped build my following and my brand were my characters are relatable. They could be your mother, sister, brothers, uncles. They can be people that you're sitting next to, you know, on the train, walking next to in a store, things of that nature. And so they're relatable. The stories are also entertaining, and they go through struggles, and we have these issues in these books, but they get there happily ever after, because most people read for an escape. Life is hard. You don't want to read a book that's going to send you on such an emotional journey that you walk away exhausted and you don't have a takeaway. And so I give you these things, and the characters aren't perfect. So my thing is I love a good flawed character, because I want to show that these people, no matter what their lives are relatable and realistic, but they also get there happily ever after. And so I feel like that's the thing that allowed people to attach and stay with me. I've been writing for 10 years. And so, you know, you pick up people, you lose people, but they come back. They've stayed with me, some of these, because they feel connected to these characters. They see bits and pieces of themselves, people they know, and they feel good about these stories. So I'd say that's generally how that happened.
Love that. And are your characters, where do you get the inspiration from them for?
Life, just life. Yeah. You'll be in a book in
one
way. They say don't piss off a writer, because they will take it out on you in a story. But just life. I mean, it's so funny. I have written books just because I heard a song, and that song inspired an entire book. You know, it brought people's lives together through just lyrics, and, you know, it just from life. And then, of course, you know, I've been married for 30 years. We have a beautiful marriage. We have children, so that we have family. All of these things are layers that come about in the books, and so it's just life in general. And, you know, I may wake up in a bad mood one day and think, you know what, I'm going to write a character who just destroys everybody's happiness because she woke up on the wrong side of the bed. So just life in general.
Yeah, I love that. Everyone has a story because we're all living a unique life.
Agreed.
There you go. So I know we talked about this yesterday. We were talking about traditional publishing, self-publishing. You've kind of gone both routes. I think now you're leaning more into the self-publishing route. And by the way, this talk is sponsored by Amazon KDP, whose booth is right in the front of this auditorium. But tell me, like, how, I guess you're leaning more into self-publishing. What are the pros there? How has it been working out for you? And what do you use to self-publish?
So I would say it depends on your goals as to which avenue you take, because you can go either route, and I am hybrid, so I'm self-published and traditionally published. And when I say goals, everybody has different goals. For me, self-publishing gives me freedom with my voice, gives me freedom with when and how I publish. I can write a book, get it to editing, finish it, go through my edits, and publish it that next morning if I wake up and feel like it. With traditional publish, it's more of a tedious process. My traditional pubs, I sat on them for a year before I could even promote them. So you create these works, and then you have to go through a different process because it's a different business, it's a different reach, it's a different platform. And so, but again, when I say your goals, with my traditional publish, they have a reach that I don't have. I am a 2-time USA Today bestseller. Ooh. I can't make those metrics necessarily, thank you, with independent publishing because I'm not as wide as traditional publish is. So again, it depends on your goals. I lean into the independent publishing again because it gives me more control over my voice, what I want to publish, how I want to publish. I don't have to worry about, an editorial team going, we maybe want to take these 4 chapters out. And I'm like, no, those chapters are so relevant. It's kind of funny coming off of what we just listened to, and they're like, you need to learn how to pivot with your writing. But so that's, for me, independent publishing is just a beautiful thing. It gives you more so the freedom and the control, and then with having, Amazon and Kindle, we upload these books, we have complete access to, our IP, to our funds, things of that nature. It's different. You are in complete control of what you do, whereas traditional publish, you're not. So both are great. It just depends on your goals. And if your goals are to be on that broad stage and to shoot for those New York Times and USA Today and things of that nature, then yeah, traditional pub is the avenue that you want to take. But it takes patience. And you may pitch a book and not get heard from, hear a response for 6 months to a year, just on your project. And then if they accept it, you may wait another year before that project reaches the masses. So it depends, again, like I said, on your goals and what you want to do and what your end game is.
Right. And you get to keep more of your dollars.
Exactly.
Yes. So when did Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing enter the picture, and what made you say this is the platform for me?
So for me, I started with a boutique publisher who was on Amazon, and I said when things happen when they're supposed to. I could not have survived being an author when they were hustling books out their trunks and, hitting the pavement. Amazon literally has given an opportunity to people to have the reach that they wouldn't have naturally had in years past. So it it wasn't necessarily this is the way to go. It was the option that was available at the time. And, unfortunately, those that have come before us didn't have that. So they're looking at us now like, oh, wow, you guys are really doing great things. It's the reach, it's the access, things change. So there was really no other way to go.
So for authors just getting started, I'm sure it can be overwhelming. And I talked to you yesterday about my mom, who's in the audience, who, she's thinking about publishing a book, and she's like, I don't know how to get started. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced early on, and how did you overcome them?
I think so. Everyone has a story in them. We've said that. The biggest challenge is, I always tell people, your first book is easy. You don't have outside noise. You're in this creative space, and you have the story to tell, and you're just so excited about it, and you're writing, and you're getting it out, and then you put your child out there to the world, and someone says, ooh, your child is ugly. And it hurts. It really hurts. So the first book is easy, and you put it out there to the world, and the outside noise kicks in. So the challenges come. The majority of the challenges, so there are challenges with getting it out there, so I'll circle back to that. But the challenges come when there's outside noise, because people are telling you, oh, you should have written this, or it should have been this way, or I didn't necessarily like that about it. And you have these things in your head when you go back to write the second book. So the first book is easy. The second book, when you have to cipher through, because there is some critique out there that is necessary, and you need to be open to listening, because we're so attached to our projects that we're just like, this is what I want to write, this is what I'm going to say, I don't care who says. But then there are some things that, well, maybe there was a loophole, or maybe I did not totally flesh out this storyline and things of that nature. But then there are just some people who just like, I just didn't like it, or why would you have written about that? And so the biggest challenge is staying committed to it, and understanding that if this is your heart and soul and this is your purpose, you have to block out the outside noise. And it's not easy. It's not easy to stay committed and dedicated to what you're doing. And also with traditional pub, you have deadlines and things like that. When you're indie, you wake up, I don't want to write today. Oh, I don't feel like writing tomorrow. But then the book never gets out there. So it's the dedication, being dedicated, being committed, putting the time in. But then circling back to the other challenges is, where do I put this book? Who's my audience? Who is going to connect to this project? And those are things that the creatives don't necessarily get. We don't get that until we're in it. And when we're in it, it's too late, because you have this project and it's like spinning wheels. Okay, what now, what now? And you sink sometimes instead of swim, because you didn't understand the business side of it. Because we're the creators, we're creating. We don't necessarily have to understand the business side of it. So that's another challenge with independent publishing. You are all things. It's all on you.
Right, and I think one thing that I've had to internalize is the beginner's luck, and knowing that when you're just starting out, nobody's looking at you. Nobody cares about what you're doing. When I'm writing, I'm thinking about what's gonna make me laugh, what's gonna make my friends laugh, and that's about it. I'll put it out there. If y'all laugh, that's cool too. But just knowing that that audience isn't there, so there's no pressure. Yeah. It's like you can just put this out, whoever gonna rock with it, gonna rock with it. If not, you keep putting stuff out until you build that muscle of consistency, and then you'll find your audience eventually. So it's like, I actually think it's a very privileged place to be in.
I'm an advocate of write the book and the right audience will find you, but I also counter that with, you need to know the audience that you're trying to target. Because you can write a book, okay, so per se, if I write, an urban fiction book or an urban romance or a contemporary romance, and then I go put it in a horror genre, that's not my audience. I didn't know enough about my target audience or the business side of it to know where to put my book. And again, you're sinking instead of swimming.
Right. What tools, features, or strategies within KDP have helped you and been the most beneficial in growing your authorship and your platform?
Oh gosh, I'd probably say knowing the genres. They're amazing with understanding, again, your target audience and how to present your product to reach those target audiences. And they're helpful, you know, and if you get a KDP rep and you have questions about, I need to know how to get this book seen. They will help you navigate keywords, search words, things of that nature that fit your product, because you're selling a product. And again, if you're selling a product to people who it doesn't relate to, it's not going to be successful. So for the most part, it's just understanding their system and how it works. And when you get that rep on your team, and use the resources, because they're a resource. You have to use you can't get upset about not navigating something properly or understanding how it works and then not being successful with it. So there are resources, and they are a resource, but if you don't utilize that. So I'd say for me, basically just understanding how to get my product in the hands of the right people.
Right, and do you automatically get a rep when you sign up?
No, you don't. So I've had them reach out to me because of the traction that I get, and unfortunately, I feel like if you reach out to them when it comes to that, I don't necessarily know how it works, but there are KDP people who will help you out with that. Yeah. But yeah, but that is key, really, to me, to understanding their system and how it works, because it's massive, and you're a small fish in a big sea trying to figure out things. And as an independent author also, you don't have the time to waste on things like that. And so if you can have someone save you hours of searching and navigating to something that it's their job and they know, it really helps. It's beneficial.
That's the perfect segue to the next question. Because we are creators. I think many of us in here are creators, creatives, and we don't have time, / we don't want to really get into the business side of things. Like, that's a whole nother world, realm. I'm sure many of us have, tried to balance it, but it is a balance, trying to create and, look at the business side. What's the money saying? What are my views, engagement, whatever you're measuring saying? How do you manage both the creative and the business side?
Again, I've been doing this for 10 years, so I have a system that works for me now. There's a creative space, and then there is a business side. But you have to have both, because you have to have a product to put out there, but you have to understand how to sell your product. So you can't have one without the other. But for me personally, the creative aspect takes it is first for me, and then the business side of it, in my opinion, is just as important. But once you figure out that system, it rarely ever changes. Once you know who you are as a creative and you know your target audience, then there's not much that you have to do with the business side of it as far as that. But then outside of that, there are other things, like you have to understand your marketing, you have to understand your brand, you have to have a brand. You can't just literally just go throw a book out there. You have to have a brand that you can attach to the product that will help you sell it. So I think the biggest part of it is just finding the time, and you have to run it like a business. I quit my job when I turned in my first book, so I had to decide how to navigate this like a business, because even though I quit a traditional corporate job, this is now my job. And it just means that the business side of it you have to find time for it, and you have to have a balance for all of it.
And I think that's another pro for self-publishing, because I was speaking to an editor the other day, and she was like, she works at Penguin, and she was saying, these days, if they're looking for authors, they're looking at your social media following, they're looking at your branding, they're trying to see if you have an existing audience, which a lot of people don't have, or at least it'll take time to build that up before you can get that book deal. Yeah. And not to discourage people, because it's possible, but when you're self-publishing, you can kind of just go and kind of build the plane as you're flying it, even without that audience. Of course, build the audience.
Yeah, because it's expensive. I mean, you think publishing houses are putting, a lot of money behind that product. They're paying for editing, they're paying for the print process of it, they're paying a whole team to go out there and market it. So of course, they want people who have a following that says that, yes, if we put this money behind your product, it's going to sell, because they want to return. It's a business. Outside, we're creatives, and sometimes we're just like, oh, we just want to write, and we have these stories and want to tell them, but it is a business. And so we have to be understanding of that.
Right. Was there a particular project or moment that you felt like was a turning point in your career, when you felt like, okay, I've made it, I figured it out? When was that point?
For me, no, honestly, because I haven't made it, and I haven't necessarily figured it all out in a sense. And I have a lot of accolades, and I've written over 150 books. And of these, everyone is different, everyone is important to me. There are some projects that I'm more attached to, that I feel like, oh wow, this is great. So my Christmas book, for instance, Christmas in Spite of You, it ended up on Oprah's book list. It ended up in New York Times. It ended up on People. Got all of these things. And it was just like, oh wow. Now writing the book, I was like, oh, that's a cute little Christmas book. But it was not that to me. It wasn't, I didn't imagine. So those are things that when they happen, you're sitting back like, oh wow, they really like this book. But for me, it was no different than writing the other books. So I'm attached to some of these books in different ways. I have a book, Shadows and Whispers, that's about a bipolar male. And, oh, y'all know Elias?
We know you.
And that, to me, I think was a turning point for me in my career, because I wanted to write something with the male character to be the one that had the bipolar. A lot of times it's depression and anxiety and bipolar from the women perspective. But we read these books, these women who read these books, these fictional romances, because we want to fall in love with these male characters. So how do you fall in love with this broken male who has all of these issues and all of these things, and he is seen in society as damaged? And so I challenged myself to write this book, but also write it in a way that someone who is experiencing bipolar or has a loved one who is bipolar felt seen. And so my test reader read the book, and I didn't know this at the time, or she wouldn't have gotten it. And she was like, my son is bipolar. You have given me hope that he can have his happily ever after. And I was just so emotional. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. So I'm a researcher. I call hospitals, I call doctors, I call the police department. I'm like, hey, so if this case is happening, can you, but people love to talk about their jobs. So they will talk to me. So I'm a heavy researcher, and just to know that it landed and I got it right. So that, I would say, is one of the pivotal moments, because it was just, that's one of the stories for me that just, it's just so beautiful, and so many people have given me that feedback, and it was received the way I wanted it to be delivered.
That makes it all worth it, and it just keeps you going. And I'm the same. I love to get into the research.
Yes.
So, yeah, if I read a book, sometimes I'm like, I know about this. I don't think this author.
Yes.
For aspiring authors in the audience, what advice would you offer for building a brand, mastering the KDP platform, and staying consistent with your work?
Consistency is so very important. So I'll start there. You have to, because this is the thing, we're in a microwave industry because of KDP, because anybody can write a book and put it up there. So there are thousands of authors a day that release books. So what makes your book unique, and what makes you unique as an author. So consistency is so important because, well, if you're doing a one and done, it doesn't really matter, but nobody really wants to do a one and done. They want a career as an author. They want to, continue to create. So consistency is so important because you need to prove to people that you're here for a reason and that you're not fly by night, and that when they fall in love with your words, that you're not going to disappear on them. So you have follow-up product, because once they read a book, and how many of you read and you read that book and then you're like, oh my God, what else is out there by this person? And you go devour their catalog. So consistency is important for that. But I'm sorry, what's the other part of it?
Consistency, building a brand,
okay.
Any advice you would offer there, and using the KDP platform.
And building a brand is so very important too, because again, you are the brand, you're selling a product, your work is your product, but you are a brand. And so you want to stand out amongst the sea of authors that are out there. And also your brand is very important if your end goal is to be traditionally published, because you can write a great book sometimes, but it's not attached to anything, and you are the thing, and it gets overlooked. And so the world has changed so much. They don't just want the art, they want the artist. And they want to go to your page and they want to know about you and who, and not to say you have to share your whole world with people, but enough of you that they feel connected, because again, emotions are universal, and if they felt something in your book, they want to feel something with you as well. It's kind of sucky, it's a catch-22, but your brand is very important, so you want to build a brand that is reflective of your product, that is professional, and that does not change, because when people see my logo, they don't even have to read the words in my logo, it's a visual. They're like, oh, that's Casey Mills. They know my colors, certain things about that, the marketing of it. So be consistent with your brand and create something that is timeless, and create something that is not boxed into one specific thing. Because, yeah, you want to make sure that your brand translates across every avenue and arena, because I started as an author, but I'm moving into script writing and TV and film. If I just have books and I'm labeled as just books and my branding and my logo is just that, then I have to create something completely different when I want to move in those other arenas.
Right, so important. Well, thank you for that advice. I'm just curious, you've written hundreds of books. I was just listening to Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie talk about how it took her 8 years to write her most recent book, Dream Count. And I'm trying to figure out what's the time, how long does it take you to write a book? So when do you move on to the next one?
Here's the thing. Again, I quit my job, and when I told my husband, I said, I'm gonna write. And he was like, oh, great, never heard me talking about writing before. And so I turned to my book, and it's going to be published, and I quit my job. And the look on his face was, we have bills. So it was, okay, well, he's very supportive. If this is what you want to do, we'll make it work. If it does not work, we have bills, so you're gonna have to go get a job. I didn't want to go get a job. I was just like, I like this, I feel good here. So for me, and it just depends. Life is different now. I don't write as fast as I used to because I don't have to. I have a brand, I have a following, I have people that show up for me. But I can literally write a book, in a month, if that's what I choose to do. And this is not for everyone, and I will say this, it's ordained for me. When you're walking in your purpose, you're walking in your purpose. The stories are there. I'm blessed enough that they're still there. I pray that they continue to be there. But it just really, again, been doing this for 10 years. It just really depends on, and I'm writing romance fiction. So I could literally write a story just about, I've written a book just about a one-night stand that was, 60,000 words, and it's one night. So the content is there, the creativity is there. So everybody's different, but it just, again, it's the dedication, the consistency, the work ethic, because being at home every day, like I said, you can wake up and go, I want to write today. But writing pays the bills, so I treat it like a job.
Well, thank you for using your ordained talent to bring us all these beautiful books. Thank you, Casey, for this conversation. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Can we get a round of applause? Thank you. I thank you, Amazon KDP, for sponsoring this. If you are an author looking to self-publish your book, Amazon KDP is there for you. As Casey mentioned, it's very simple.
It is so user-friendly, and I tell people all the time, if that's the route you want to take and you want to self-publish, you can do it. You absolutely can do it. All of the resources will be there for you.
We can start Q&A. I think there's going to be a line here.
The mic is here.
You can go ahead. Oh, if you want to use the mic, it's over there, unless you want to just project.
Hi, my name is Rasha. Thank you for both coming. I'm learning a lot. So I work for my sister's company. Y'all hear that? Okay, sorry. I work for my sister's company, and her brand was actually based on her own story. And as her PR person, I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on having a story and a product that comes with it, and how to maintain sales on that story for that product, if that makes sense?
I think I understand what you're saying, but it depends, because if that's the only, she's boxing herself in, that's great, but then how do you pivot? Because your brand is your story is your brand, then you're gonna hit a wall when it comes to trying to do something else, because people are gonna go, no, this is what you do right here. And then she's like, no, I want to do this now. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's going to complicate shifting when she wants to do something else. And so to keep sales going, to answer your question for that, to keep sales going for that, it'll work because you keep pushing that brand. But then when you shift and pivot, then what happens when you're trying to still have that brand and move to something else, because you have to change what people know you as?
Okay, thank you so much for answering that. It comes with like a part 2 question.
Okay.
So her story sticks. Basically, her brand is Umber by Jaylen. She'll be speaking tomorrow, you guys, on a panel. And her product is for people that have facial hair for women. And she's dealt with PCOS, as well as probably many women in this room that don't know that they deal with that. And her story is speaking to many people because no one talks about it. But we've come to a point where I kind of have to tell her story, and I'm not her, so I want to make this authentic to her audience. And as a team, as a family team, we want to keep her the momentum going, as well, obviously, with the sales and her personality and things. So I guess that's not really a question, but I just wanted to give a little bit.
But you know your target audience.
Okay.
You know the target audience of who she's trying to reach. So in order to continue to have sales in that avenue, you have to, because your target audience is going to shift and change. And you're going to have that target audience by age also. So you guys are now going to have to do the research on that target audience so that you can continue to figure out how to present to them, because it's about presenting to that target audience. So it sounds like the brand is fine because she's not in need of shifting or changing, but you're going to have to now pour your time into researching your target audience and then see how you can take that core audience and then expand it and branch out. So you're fine as far as that's concerned, but you just need to now invest the time in researching how to get that product, her brand, to your target, because you know who it is. You were very specific about it. You have to research your target audience and say, hey, what do y'all want? How do you want us to deliver this to you? Because I've got it. I just want to get it to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing today? My question is, like, AI. I'm working on my second book, and I'm leaning towards using AI, but I'm kind of scared to use AI because I'm thinking it might get put out there, and I don't want to take my ideas. So I'm kind of like on the fence about doing that? So
I'm a
what's your-
creative, so I will say this. AI is useful for a lot of things. I'm very sensitive about it with the creative side of it. If you put your idea in AI, it's going to be pushed out there in some form or another.
Okay.
So you cannot keep it as your idea anymore if you're looking at using AI, whether it be the content or the images.
Okay.
So look forward to it being out there in some form. But as a creative, I am very sensitive to that because there are only things that we can do as far as the emotions, the feelings, and things like that. And you can write with AI, but it's not going to be as it would be for a creative to actually put their heart and soul into it. So in my opinion, to answer your question, it's okay for you to do that if that's the avenue you choose, but expect that your content is no longer going to just be your content.
Okay.
And so just be mindful of that. And if you are okay with that, then you'll be fine. So, I mean, and there are a lot of people who create that way, or I can't say create, but use AI in that aspect. And it's okay. There's no good, bad, or indifferent with certain people. But just please understand, it is not going to stay specific to you anymore. In some form or fashion, it's going to be out there in some type of version.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank
Can
you.
I add to that?
Yeah.
Just for people who might not understand when you say it will be put out there.
Yeah.
AI is trained on what humans input into it, and then when it responds, it's responding on the collective answers and prompts it's gotten from people. So when she's saying your work might be put out there, it means what you put into AI will then be used as maybe an answer or some sort of output for the next person's input into AI because it's trained on what humans are putting into it. So
Yes.
your work will not be your own because someone else might ask something or want to do something similar to you, and then it'll take what you've put in there
And create a different
give it
version
to
of
them
it.
as an answer or like as a thing, as an output.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
No worries.
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Ife Oshun. I'm an author, YA fantasy. So I have a couple of books out that I've indie published, and I've been in the industry for a while, and I'm looking to get my next manuscript traditionally published. So I wanted to ask the question to you, you know, you've kind of done everything. Do you consider yourself a hybrid author, or do you just consider yourself like you're an author who has gone from indie to traditional and will never go back? And can you speak to the pros and cons of each of those business models, I guess you can say, indie, traditional, published, and hybrid, just so I can hear from you? And because I'm not quite sure, even though I know that I want to do traditional publishing, I understand the benefits of that and how that differs from indie publishing, and that's where I want to be. But I can't say that for the rest of my career I want to do traditional. I also see some benefits in indie and being a hybrid. So I'd love to get your insights on that. Thank you very much.
So I am hybrid, and I have both. I have an agent, and so I will present other books for traditional pub. The pros and cons for me, and one is not better than the other. Again, it's preference and what's your end goal. With the traditional pub, you have a wider reach. You have the ability to end up as a candidate for the list, the USA Today, New York Times, things of that nature. So if that is a goal, then traditional pub is the way to go. Can you do that being independent? Yes. You just have to put your book wide. You can't be on Amazon KDP. You can have your book wide, but chances are you're not going to generate the sales. So the reach that you get, it's something beautiful to go in a store. You know, I got really giddy to go in Barnes & Noble and see a whole table full of my books. It was super exciting, you know, things of that nature. But as far as the downside to traditional pub, if you do not have the support that you need to get your product out there, your reach is no better than what it would be with you being independent and you doing a book tour on your own and you going to book events, cons and signings and things of that nature to physically put the product into readers' hands. So it just really depends. The industry is very interesting. It's not perfect, but you can still be successful at it with traditional publish. It just really depends on uniquely you and your story and who you sign with and what your team is and how much they believe in your product. Yeah. It can be amazing. It can be you walk away from it and it's like, oh, wow, that was crap. But also, too, with traditional pub, once you put it out there and you give your IP to someone, they're publishing it for the next, I don't know, 7 to 10 years, right? So imagine it's your IP. If it does not do well, you're stuck with them having your product for this amount of time. When you're independently publishing, if it didn't land right or, you know, you have a lot more flexibility as to what you can do with it. If you need to go back and rework it, if you need to change a cover, if you know, the markets change, all of these things, independently, you have the ability to do what you want to do. You can unpublish a book, go change it, revise it, put it back out there with brand new everything. So those are things I would say, but again, it depends on end goals. What's your end goal? Some people don't care about sales. If you just want to walk in the store and see your store on a shelf, then go traditional pub because you can do that. But if you care more about the money side of it and you want to be in control of how much you earn, how much you generate, how much marketing you can do, how much, you know, with all of that, then be independent. And I feel like for everyone, do what suits you, what feels good to you, and again, your end goal. Whatever your end goal is will determine, but I'm gonna stay hybrid. I won't be one or the other because I may wake up tomorrow and go, you know what, I don't wanna independently publish this month. I'm gonna give this book to my agent and let her shop it around. It just depends, you know, but it's the best of both worlds. I say whatever your end goal is, if those are things that, because you may put a book out there, traditional pub, and it just takes off. Like you just don't know. If we could bottle this up and sell it, we'd be millionaires, but you don't know. Yeah. So I say that whatever your end goals are, if those are things that you're looking at and you want the option or the opportunity to do those things, then do both.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And if I may just take a second to piggyback off of what you said, it kind of resonates with that thing inside of me that kind of feels like I want to be a hybrid, because to your point, you could publish something traditionally, it may flop. However, any marketing incentives that you take as the other side, on the indie side, even if it's with like another book or whatever, you know, if you get a boost with that, it could possibly boost the traditional published one as well. And if we're going to be out here marketing anyway, right? So it sounds to me, and I kind of feel like you're validating that feeling that hybrid actually is probably not for everybody, but for me, like, you know, more empowering, where you can kind of take advantage of both sides. Would you agree?
I do, because you have nothing to lose, because you have both.
Yeah.
You know.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Hello. I want to talk about the self-publishing side of things, and I know you probably don't have to deal with this now, but this was more for when you were in the earlier phases. How did you come up, or how did you build your alpha reader, beta reader base to get you from that first draft to when it was ready to go to professional editors?
So I will say this. Alpha and beta readers are really going to give you their opinions, but you have to believe in your product. I say what's more important is going to be your editorial team. You need an editor that is not afraid. My editor, sometimes I get my manuscripts back. Now, I'm the queen of run-on sentences. I'll write a 100,000-word book. It is one sentence. My editor, however, does not, and this is, my earlier work was not so great and with, you know, someone else, but this is now with me having control. My editor is not afraid to say, this doesn't make sense to me. Can you I see where you're trying to go, but we're not exactly there. But you have to have a team, an editorial team that is not afraid to hurt your feelings. I get my manuscripts back sometimes and they're bleeding, those red lines. Like those edits are horrible and I like literally sit with it sometimes and like, ooh, do I need to do this? Like that, because so I say all that to say this. The beta readers are great, but they can only give you their opinions and what qualifies them. Because even the most qualified beta readers are still reading as fans, as readers, and from their perspectives and with their life experiences. You and I can read the exact same book and have two completely different takeaways. So more so lean into finding an amazing editorial team, like an editor, and also a proofreader, two separate people, versus having the beta readers. And I have switched, and I still switch now with my beta readers because they're reading as fans. They love my work. So you have gotten comfortable with my work. So, oh girl, that was the best book ever. No, it really wasn't. Can we talk about some of the things that I have questions about? So I would say your editorial team is so much more important than your beta readers.
So
sensitivity readers, though, get some of those.
As a self-published author, first, baby author out of the gate, the editors are very expensive.
They
so
are.
When you say building an editorial team, who needs to be on this team?
You just need your editor and a proofreader. And here's the thing. It's very expensive. It is. You can go pay someone with all the skills in the world $200 and they'll still miss stuff, or you can go pay $2,000 for somebody who is never even went to college before. So you just need to find someone who knows your voice, knows your writing style, and knows all of whatever form of writing you're doing, and knows the grammatical and things of that nature, and also is willing to fine-tune their craft. My editor still is taking classes because things change. And so you want to make sure that this system that they're doing now still works. They're killing us right now with M-dashes. So it just, so I will say find someone that fits your budget, but at least make sure their work is qualified, because they don't have to be super expensive. And if you're starting out, you can't invest $2,000 in editing. You don't even have any income from your book yet.
Right.
You still have to do a cover. You still have to do your marketing, all of these things. So find someone that fits your budget, but also to get a proofreader and read your books when they come back from edits. Go through and read, because they're not perfect. They're human. So read your books when they come back from edits. And there are AI tools that you can use to help edit if that's the route you want to go. It's inexpensive, but don't have it rewrite your stuff. Just do edits. Can't afford to go do edit. Technology is amazing and it will help, but just be mindful of what you're putting out there, and you make sure you're the last set of eyes that hit your book before it goes out there into the world.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for all the thoughtful questions. Thank you, Casey, for being here with me. I learned a lot. I hope everyone here learned some things. Thank you, Amazon KDP. And I think that's our time. I'm Anayo at Carefree Mag. Where can they find you?
I am author Casey Mills on social media. The author Casey Mills is my website, and that's it.
Awesome.
But I want to say thank you to you as well. You did an amazing job,
Oh, thank
and
you.
I appreciate you sitting with me today.
Of course. Let's do it again. Thanks, y'all.